Something is wrong in Hawkins again. And this time, the silence feels louder than any scream. The streets look empty, but everything in the air whispers that the darkness is waking up. Every light flickers like it's trying to warn someone. Every shadow looks like it's hiding something. And before anyone understands what's happening, the town begins to breathe like the Upside Down is crawling underneath its skin. The town of Hawkins stands still, as if it's holding its breath. Streetlights buzz softly, glowing in and out like they're losing a fight against something unseen. The wind moves with a strange rhythm, brushing old leaves across the cracked road, almost as if they're being pushed by an invisible force. Houses sit in perfect quiet, but the quiet doesn't feel peaceful. It feels like the start of something waiting to step into the world. Every small sound becomes sharp, a creaking sign swinging above an empty store, a radio inside a closed house fluttering with static, the distant echo of a dog barking before being cut off too suddenly. Even the air seems heavier. It moves slowly, thick with the kind of cold that doesn't come from weather but from fear. There's a sense that the town has felt all of this before, and it remembers the danger, even if the people do not. A soft vibration crawls under the ground, spreading from the woods to the quiet neighborhoods. It's faint at first, like the earth is sighing, but then it grows stronger, pulsing like a heartbeat under the soil. The leaves tremble. The lampposts shake just enough to be noticed. Something beneath is trying to rise, pushing against the thin wall that separates Hawkins from the place it never wanted to see again. The Upside Down is no longer staying in the shadows. It's breathing right under the surface. The connection that was once broken is trying to rebuild itself, piece by piece, in ways that no one can see yet. But the world around them can feel it. Every object, every wall, every piece of air hums with a warning that the past is not done with them. Old memories cling to the edges of the town. The broken creel house stands tall in the distance, its windows like dark eyes watching everything unfold. Vines from the Upside Down, dry and brittle, remain wrapped around its doors and walls like scars that never healed. They may look dead, but something inside them twitches, slow and soft, like something waking from a long sleep. The house feels alive again, responding to the same growing pulse under the earth. And as more seconds pass, the dust inside the house begins to float on its own, drifting upward despite the still air. Turning slowly like something pulling gravity in the wrong direction. Across town, forgotten objects start to react. A walkie-talkie left on a table crackles to life for no reason. Pages of an old notebook flip on their own as if brushed by a ghost. A clock in a school hallway ticks backward for a single moment before snapping forward again. The strange energy spreads from place to place, quiet but unstoppable. Hawkins is changing, and the shift is too familiar to ignore. It feels like the first signs of a storm that has already chosen its path. A storm that knows every corner of the town and every person who once stood against it. As night begins to settle, the sky darkens faster than it ever should. Clouds form in twisting shapes, pulling the world into a deeper shade of blue. The stars disappear one by one, swallowed by the spreading darkness above. The wind grows colder, sharper, carrying the feeling that something is approaching from far beyond anything humans can understand. And while the world goes silent again, one thing becomes clear. Whatever is coming isn't just returning, it's coming with a purpose, a hunger, and a plan that started long before anyone realized they were still being watched. The darkness is not crossing back into Hawkins by accident. It's coming because the final chapter is ready to begin. Deep under the quiet streets, far beyond the basements and sewers and hidden tunnels of Hawkins, something begins to move in the dark. It isn't loud. It doesn't roar or scream. Instead, it shifts like a long, slow breath being taken after years of silence. The ground above stays still, but the space beneath it pulses with a bitter energy, an energy that feels old, angry, and unfinished. The Upside Down is stretching, twisting, reaching through invisible cracks like fingers feeling for a way back into the real world. Every crack glows faintly, flickering with a strange bluish light that crawls across the dirt like veins waking up. The light doesn't brighten the dark. It only makes it seem deeper, stranger, and more alive. Roots long, thorned, and pulsing like they have a heartbeat crawl through the underground soil, pulling themselves toward Hawkins as if the town is something they've missed. They drag moisture from the ground, turning it cold and icy in seconds. They wrap around old pipes, cracking them open. They slither along forgotten wires, making them spark with short, violent bursts of electricity. Everything the roots touch loses warmth, loses color, loses life. The air in this hidden world thickens until it feels like nothing can breathe down there. But something is breathing, something patient, something powerful, something that has waited long enough. A low rumble pushes outward, spreading through the tunnels like a warning. Dust falls from the ceilings in long, slow trails. Small rocks tremble, shifting into new positions as if drawn by an invisible pull. Even the shadows on the walls begin to move, sliding into new shapes that don't match the objects casting them. They stretch, curl, and rise like they're trying to stand upright. These shadows don't behave like normal darkness. They ripple as if made from smoke mixed with ink, hiding shapes that are almost human, but not quite. Every shift suggests a presence, something forming or remembering what it used to be, farther in the dark. The air grows colder than winter storms, colder than the breath of the creatures that once walked these tunnels. A thin mist rises from the floor, glowing faintly with a pale, sickly white light. The mist moves with purpose, crawling along the ground, climbing up walls, searching. It slips into cracks and holes that lead upward toward the streets, following the vibration, calling it like a voice from the world above. The barrier between Hawkins and the Upside Down isn't broken yet, but it's weakening. The cracks widen one slow inch at a time, letting the two worlds bleed together. And when worlds bleed, nothing stays the same. In the heart of this underground space lies a strange, twisting mass, an old scar from past battles. It once belonged to something defeated, something believed to be gone forever. But the scar pulses now, glowing red from deep inside. The glow spreads like fire beneath the skin of the world, lighting the roots, the shadows, the dust-filled air. The mass expands with every pulse, pushing the darkness outward, sending shockwaves through the earth. It twitches like a creature waking from a nightmare only to find it wasn't sleeping at all. Whatever left this scar behind did not die. It waited, gathered strength, and learned from every defeat. A sudden crack splits the ground, sharp and loud, echoing through the tunnels like a broken scream. The roots tense, the shadows freeze. The mist rises higher, swirling in frantic motion. Something pushes from the other side of the crack, pressing hard against the reality holding it back. It isn't angry. It isn't desperate. It's certain that this is the moment it has been waiting for. The moment everything changes. The moment the final game begins. Above ground, Hawkins still sleeps. People rest in their beds, unaware that the world beneath them is opening like a wound. Lamps flicker again. A thin vibration shakes picture frames on walls. Dogs whine. Children shift in their sleep. And all through the town, a whisper spreads from nowhere and everywhere at once, soft, cold, and promising. It's time. Hawkins begins to change in small, unsettling ways, little signs that most people would ignore. But the town itself feels every shift like an old wound reopening. The morning light arrives late, dragging itself across the sky as if it doesn't want to touch the ground. The sun seems weaker, pale and thin, like something is draining its strength from behind the clouds. Shadows stretch longer than they should, bending slightly in the wrong direction, almost like they're reaching towards something hidden. Even the air feels off. It carries a strange chill that lingers in places where there's no wind at all, settling over the town like an invisible fog. Hawkins has faced danger before, but this time the danger feels different, quiet, patient, and deeply familiar. Like a memory that refuses to fade. Old objects around town begin reacting first, as if they remember what happened years ago. The high school's hallway lights flicker in a slow, steady pattern, almost like Morse code. The library's dusty books tremble on their shelves for a moment before going still, as if something brushed past them. Lockers creak open by themselves. A classroom globe rotates slowly and stops exactly on the spot where Hawkins sits on the map. The town clock tower chimes 3 minutes early. its echo ringing across empty streets with a sharpness that doesn't fade for a long time. Every sound, every movement, every vibration seems to be following an invisible signal. Hawkins is waking up because the threat waking beneath it is something it has felt before. On the outskirts of town, the forest stands unnervingly calm. Trees sway, but the leaves don't rustle. Birds hide in complete silence, watching from branches with wide and moving eyes. The deeper parts of the woods feel colder, darker, and even the paths that locals know well seem unfamiliar, curving in slight new angles as if the forest itself is shifting. There's a spot where the ground dips unexpectedly, the dirt cracked open in thin, spider-like lines. Moss around the edges has turned a strange dark blue, as if the upside down is painting its colors into the real world. The animals sense that they move in tense, nervous steps, sniffing the air as though something unnatural is taking shape just out of sight. They know Hawkins is not safe anymore. Inside homes, small disturbances grow more noticeable. A sink faucet drips even though it was tightly closed the night before. A Polaroid photo tape to a wall curls at the edges as if heat is pressing down on it, even though the room is cold. Refrigerators hum louder than usual, almost like a deep growl hidden under the mechanical noise. Televisions switch channels for a split second, just long enough to show static filled with faint shapes that disappear when blinking. Children wake up in the middle of the night, saying they heard someone whispering their names from inside their closets. Adults brush these things off as imagination, power issues, or the house simply settling. But every small, strange moment adds to a larger truth. Hawkins is remembering something it never wanted to remember. In the quiet corners of town, old fears begin to rise. People who survived past horrors feel prickles on their skin, a familiar sensation they hoped they'd never experience again. They sense it in their bones, the heaviness in the air, the odd shiver in the ground, the soft pressure in their ears like a storm is approaching. The town carries scars, both seen and unseen, and those scars begin to burn like they've been touched by something rising from below. Every building, every street, every whispered rumor from years ago seems to come alive, reminding Hawkins that the past never fully closed its doors. It simply waited. And as the day continues, something strange happens. The light begins to fade much earlier than normal. Afternoon dims into dusk with no warning. The clouds above twist slowly, forming shapes that resemble vines stretching across the sky. The temperature drops a few degrees in a matter of seconds. People look up in confusion, watching their breath form pale mist in the air. They don't understand what's happening. They don't know the source. But somewhere deep inside the earth, the thing waiting below smiles without a face, knowing Hawkins is finally listening again. The world above is reacting exactly as it should. Night falls over Hawkins with a kind of speed that feels unnatural, almost like someone pulled the sky down by force. The moment the sun disappears, the entire town shifts into a deeper level of silence, one that doesn't feel empty, but crowded. As if the darkness itself is full of eyes watching everything from just outside the edges of vision. Streetlights blink rapidly, fighting to stay alive, but their light stretches thin and weak, unable to push back the heavy shadows gathering underneath them. The air grows colder than the inside of a freezer, carrying a metallic taste that settles on the tongue like the memory of blood. Windows frost from the corners inward, forming delicate, spiderweb-like patterns that pulse softly with a faint red glow. Something is not just approaching Hawkins, it's already here, stepping into the world piece by piece. Breath by breath, the ground trembles with low, rhythmic vibrations, almost like footsteps too big to belong to anything human. The vibrations move slowly across town, passing under homes, slipping beneath streets, shaking dust from ceilings and stirring old fears awake. One by one, objects begin reacting to the unseen presence. A bicycle resting against a fence falls over without wind. A sprinkler turns on by itself, spraying water into the night only to freeze midair as if time has paused. A mailbox creaks open and shuts repeatedly, slamming like it's trying to deliver a message that no one wants to read. Even the trees respond, their branches stretch outward, bending toward the center of town. As though something is pulling them with invisible strings, inside Hawkins' abandoned places. Echoes begin repeating themselves in loops. The old Starcourt Mall ruins whisper with faint, scattered footsteps that stay just out of sight. The Creel house awakens fully, the walls tighten and pulse as if the house has veins. The floorboards expand and contract like lungs inhaling cold air. Dust floats upward in spirals, glowing faintly under the moonlight leaking through shattered windows. Every room in the house seems to lean inward, bending toward the basement as if gravity is being drawn downward by something with immense force. And deep within that basement, the old crack in the wall sealed years ago begins to split open again. Not fast, slowly, patiently, like a mouth spreading into a smile. The upside down pushes harder than before, pressing against the barrier between worlds until every surface feels thinner, stretched to its limits. The smell of old earth and decay seeps through vents and drains. Vines creep out of dark corners, curling across floors like they're mapping new territory. They glow in short pulses, matching the beat of something alive just beyond the veil. A distant, hollow sound echoes across Hawkins, a low tolling, like a bell underwater. It rings once, then again, then again. Each toll sends a wave of cold air rippling through the streets. Animals flee. Lights die. Every person asleep tightens their grip on their blankets without knowing why, their minds brushing against the edges of a nightmare still forming around them. And then, without warning, reality cracks. A thin line of red light slices open in the middle of an empty road, hovering just inches above the ground. The line expands, trembling as if struggling to stay stable, until it tears wider into a glowing wound. The air around it distorts, shaking like heat waves even though the temperature keeps dropping. Something on the other side shifts, its shape unclear but massive, its presence impossible to ignore. Shadows stretch toward the opening like creatures greeting a returning king. The darkness leans forward, hungry and confident, ready to swallow whatever stands before it. Across town, clocks begin ticking backward. Radios burst with static that whispers half-formed words. Water in sinks and tubs ripples as though something is moving beneath. Every strange sign points to one truth. The upside down is making the first move. Hawkins is not being attacked randomly. This is strategy. This is intention. This is war being declared in silence. The darkness has found its opening, and it's no longer testing the barrier. It's tearing through it. Everything the town fought before was just preparation. Every creature, every shadow, every nightmare was only a piece of a larger plan. And now the final chapter begins as the veil between worlds shatters inch by inch. Hawkins stands unaware on the edge of something far bigger than a monster or a curse. Something old, something patient, something that has been building its power beneath their feet, waiting for the perfect moment to strike. That moment is now.